Hello everyone, my name is Cortex, and today we're talking about Ark of Osiris, and particularly endgame Ark of Osiris and Osiris League. Now, if you are a very new player to Ark of Osiris and want to learn the very basics, I would recommend checking out Chadsky's video that he uploaded. I'll have a link to that down below in the description. But this video is meant for players that want to take your Ark of Osiris League team to the next level and compete at the highest level. Now, I don't want to waste your time, so let's get right into it. First of all, we're going to talk about planning. Now, obviously, every single good team has a lot of planning going into it. And a very important thing when it comes to planning is to know your players very well and plan accordingly. And what I mean by that is you should know every single account on your team. Who's got a good garrison? Who's got a good rally? Who's got, what do they have? And you need to make their marches for them. You can't assume that every single player on your team will know exactly what marches will be the best to run for their account. You need to help them. And even at the individual level, you should go and get every single player on your team's data when it comes to marches and equipment. You should know how many sets they have, what their sets look like, everything. You should ask for screenshots. You should collect data on all your players. And this is going to be really important when it comes to planning, because you want to plan in a way that you can utilize your players in the best way possible. For example, how many garrisons do you have? Who are your best garrisons? And you want to put those garrisons in important positions on the field, such as defending your altars, being an offensive garrison when you capture an altar, etc. How many rallies do you have? Where do you need rallies? You need to take all these things into account before you assign players to different lanes. And you need to know what field marches they can use, what commanders are the most optimal. You need to do your testing, etc. So that is very, very basic and very, very important. You need to know your players when you are planning for Osiris League. And you need to set up their marches for them. You need to tell them where to be. And you need to have rotations also in the plan so that they know exactly when to do what. For example, you need to have a separate plan for when you're entering the game, before Ark, so the first few minutes of the game, during Ark, etc. Like, what should every player be doing at every single different moment in the game? They need to know that it needs to be in the plan, and that's the first step. Now, all of this is going to tie into going through Ark of Osiris live and basically VOD reviewing our last Ark of Osiris League game in 60mx and showing a few of these things that I mentioned and how they are executed on the battlefield. So first off, planning. And also, another very important thing, practice. Now, I'm not going to show who we're practiced against or the results, but you can see here that I have a decent amount of custom Ark of Osiris matches and I haven't favorited all of them in my favorites here. And practice is a very, very important thing, and you need to practice against good teams. If you practice against teams that you're crushing or beating with ease, it's not going to be very beneficial for you. You need to optimally, honestly, and it might suck, but the best way you learn is to practice against teams that are better than you, and you might lose a lot, and it's going to suck, but that's the way you're going to learn the most. Practice, 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 it's very important. And now with the custom Ark of Osiris, you can practice against teams from any kingdom, from any realm, so it's a really, really useful tool, and you need to practice if you want to take your team to that next level. Now, second off, we're going to go through commander pairings. And I'm going to show this in here, as we can see actually some statistics on commander pairings, which is pretty cool. So, seeing here for field battle specifically, you have, obviously, this is from a lot of different games, from a lot of different teams. But we have Hoa Arthur, we have Herman, Zhuge Liang Herman, Joan of Arc, Alexander Nevsky. Also, by the way, when it comes to like Herman Zhuge Liang or Zhuge Liang Herman, for Ark of Osiris, I prefer, and I think most high-end teams run Herman primary. The same when it comes to like Joan, you run Joan primary, because hasted departure is very powerful. That's one thing in Ark of Osiris, and also the skill damage reduction that you get from the support tree is really powerful. So yes, you run support tree primary commanders, I think, is what most high-end teams do. Lucia Philip, Ragnar Scipio, Scipio Ragnar, Lucia Alex, Alex Nevsky, etc, etc. Alex Nevsky? Alex Joe. Sorry. Nevsky Joe. Okay, there we go. Anyway, now I'm going to show also what I run. Now, I have a few, and I need to show this here because I have some marches out at the minute. Farming, so I'll show that in here. Now, I have a few different presets and with some different variety, but these are usually the marches I run. Bit of variation every now and then. You can put a William here. You can change it around a bit. Obviously, I'm also a garrison player, so it's not always that I run all of these, but this is most of the time the marches that I use, which you can see is very similar to what we could see as the most used marches. when it comes to Ark of Osiris. And I'm going to talk more about, when we go through the gameplay, why these marches are selected and why it's very important that you optimize your marches. Now, the skill system is another very important thing to running a successful Ark of Osiris team. So if we go have a look here at the skill system, if I can find it, that's not it, skill system, there we go. So you have a bunch of different skills here to pick from. Now, what is important is that you should not just copy-paste someone else's strategy. You can take inspiration, that's fine, but I would not recommend just copy-pasting someone else's strategy. Because when it comes to using skills, it is very reliant on how your team plays and also how you execute the game. You can't just take someone else's skills and run a completely different strategy and just expect it to work. That's not how it's going to work. For example, you could see even 60GT, sadly, lost today in Ark of Osiris League to a team that I would say is fair to say is considered a lot worse than them, and many people don't even know what this team is or who they are, and they got beaten by making mistakes and having the enemy team capitalize on it. So with the proper skill usage, and that's what they did, and if you get lucky and your enemy make a few mistakes, you can beat better teams. So yeah, skills are very, very important. Now, a few powerful skills that I would like to mention. I don't think these are used very much anymore. They used to be used in the past. Same with Hard Push, War Drums, Teardown, Mystical Formation, Valiant Stand, Timely Support, Insatiable, Bogged. Okay, now, these skills that I just mentioned up here are not used, at least from what I've seen, in high-end Ark of Osiris League these days. Now, Bogdown is used by some teams. Personally, I am not a big fan of it, but if you like the slow and the defense reduction, you can use this. It's also a counter to Heaven's Grace because it reduces healing. So Bogdown can be useful in that scenario. So Bogdown is a pretty nice skill. Now Desert Storm is a very interesting one. If you've been watching a lot of high-end Osiris League games, you may notice a lot of teams running Sneaky Tactics. Now what Sneaky Tactics does is it makes basically 30 allied troops invisible. And you gain 50% march speed and you're invisible. If a hidden troop attacks, they lose the effect, but deal 30% extra damage for 60 seconds. Okay, now another interesting part that's actually not mentioned here is Desert Storm. If you put Desert Storm on top of Sneaky Tactics, it will reveal the marches that were hidden by Sneaky Tactics. So this is a way you could easily counter Sneaky Tactics, and Desert Storm is a common used counter to Sneaky Tactics. Now Heaven's Grace, very, very powerful mid-field fighting skill. And yeah, I mean, but also make sure you do not use it together with To the Death. I see some teams making this mistake actually, which is kind of surprising, because when you have To the Death applied, you cannot heal. And now what Heaven's Grace does is it heals all of your allied troops. So do not use Heaven's Grace together with To the Death, but by themselves, they can be very powerful. Master Strategy, you should know what this does. It teleports your troops to a target destination, 30 of them, and you gain attack as well for 180 seconds. You can see it being used to capture enemy obelisks, you can see it being used to steal away arcs, you can see it being used to just take the arc away from the middle to an obelisk or a structure when you have little time left in the game. That is basically what Master Strategy is used for. You can use it to make a sneaky play and catch your enemy off guard. And you can see it can be very effective, as it was used against 60GT today, and they did lose. Which is probably, I think, safe to say, the biggest upset in Osiris League history. Now, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments down below, but I don't think there has been a bigger upset in Osiris League history than 60GT losing to a team that everyone had discounted and that nobody thought would even stand a chance. Anyway, moving on. Dust Up, also very powerful skill. It reduces the visual range of enemy troops and buildings, which is actually really powerful now that the fog is in Ark of Osiris. It makes it very hard to see, and also scout and see if you can capture structures. It's really good for mid-fight, and it also reduces their damage as well. So Dust Up is a pretty powerful skill. It can cause the enemy team to lose a lot of vision and lose a lot of focus. So yeah, Dust Up is pretty powerful. Total Vision, I don't see it being used as much anymore. So yeah, Total Vision I don't think is very popular anymore, but correct me if I'm wrong. Fire Arrows stocking up, don't see them used. Energetic, I think every single good team that I've played against or seen play have been using Energetic. Now, this makes you basically generate more energy points, so yeah, really, really powerful, pretty straightforward what it does. Now, Inferno is a very interesting one. Basically, you pick one of your troops, one of your allied troops, And after 30 seconds, so after you use this skill, 30 seconds later, the area around it bursts into flames. The flames last for 18 seconds, and the troop cannot gain the hidden status, so you cannot use this with sneaky tactics, which makes sense. Every 3 seconds, 50% of the troops caught in the flames, regardless of team, lose 20% of their max unit and lose the hidden status. So this can be very, very powerful, and another way to beat teams that are better than you. Or stronger than you, I should say. If you can use this effectively in a mid-fight, it can really turn the fight around. And if you can catch a strong team with this skill in the mid-fight, you might as well win that mid-fight, even though you're technically a weaker team or you have weaker marches or whatever. If you use the skill properly, you can win the mid-fight. But it can also lose you the mid-fight. It costs 6 points and it can hit your allies. So you need to make sure you do not hit your allies with this, and whoever you put this on needs to be extremely good and know exactly what they're doing with it and get into a perfect position and needs to be executed extremely well. So this is a very risky skill, but something you can do to try to win a match that you don't think you're going to win. Now, Time Warp, this is also a very powerful and popular skill used these days. It costs 6 points, but it resets the cooldown for all your team's battlefield skills. And your next battlefield skill costs 100% fewer energy bars to use. So what this means is that the next skill you use is free. So it resets the cooldown, which is interesting, because you can now use To the Death, which is a 3600 second cooldown, so you can only use this once per match. But if you use To the Death in, let's say, first or second arc, and then in a later arc you use Time Warp, that means now your To the Death is off cooldown again, and it's also free. So you pay the 6 points, so obviously it's not free, but you basically can use this to have 2 of any skill you want, which can be really, really powerful. So yeah, this is pretty popular. Same comes for No Mark. It's also really, really powerful and really, really popular. For the next 300 seconds, your team capture buildings 60 seconds faster and gains team points from occupying buildings 30% faster. In addition, allied troops deal 20% more damage when attacking buildings and take 20% less damage while garrisoning buildings. So this is kind of like the old... Now, this used to be used a lot. I would say No Mark is a lot more powerful, but Hard Push used to be used back in the day because it did something similar, but then they nerfed Hard Push and introduced No Mark, so now No Mark is kind of the new Hard Push. And if you're a structure-focused team, this is extremely powerful. Or if you lost your structures and you're trying to capture them back, this can also be extremely powerful. Basically, I mean, it's pretty straightforward, but yeah, No Mark is a very good skill. Now, we're done with the skills section. Now I'm going to walk you through our last Ark of Osiris match, Osiris League I should say, the last Osiris League match we played today actually in 60MX, and show you kind of basically everything I explained up until now and how that looks on the battlefield. So going into the game, you can see here that, well, I should maybe skip until the game actually starts. Alright, so going into the start of the game, you can see marches obviously flowing out of every side and them going to their respective lanes. Now, another skill that I did not mention is the sentries. Now, the sentries are also very, very powerful if you know how to place them properly. You can see we have one placed right here, and that is to obviously see if they're doing something funny and just basically figuring out where they're going out of their base to see if they're doing something abnormal. Now, in this case, they were not, it seems pretty standard, everyone's going to their lanes, because in some cases, some teams, for example, run through mid and do a bunch of other stuff to try to cause disruption and catch you by surprise, which you can do with this new vision system. Now you can see we also have a vision cone right here that can spot out basically if how they're positioned on their sky altar, because we are looking to attack the sky altar at the start of the game. So you can see here our marches are coming out, and I'm gonna be focusing on this lane a lot this game because this is where I play, so this is where I feel like I can speak on the most. Now obviously we have similar things going on the other side, just obviously in reverse. You can see our team here, 60MX, posturing to attack the enemy desert altar. They're posturing to defend their desert altar. Over here we're positioning to defend our desert altar, and they're coming to attack. So you can see quite similar things from both sides. Here we're positioning to attack their sky altar, they're positioning to defend, and the same goes here. So pretty standard opening by both teams, nothing too crazy. But you can see also, like I mentioned, energetic used by both teams, and we can see the skills getting revealed as they get used over here. Anyhow, I want to skip ahead a bit. Now, I want to have a look at our offensive move here on the enemy sky altar. And I can talk about this because this is the lane where I play. As you can see, my marches are right here. And basically, they positioned, in my opinion, pretty poorly. You can see they're sitting on top of their altar. Optimally, what you want to do, and I don't know if I can pause this. Okay, I don't think I can. Either way, optimally, what you want to do is you want to position ahead, because you want to keep the enemy away from your structure. And you can see my whoa here. You can see the structure's now opening, and boom, I drag right onto it. You see, I enter. We capture the Sky Altar first, which is a big, big advantage for us. And now we're playing basically offensive defense on the Sky Altar right here. And you can see also over here, they got the first capture here, although it was taken back quickly. They still got the first capture here on our Desert Altar, which should not happen, but anyway. So basically what I'm trying to say with this is you could see they let us run up all the way to their Sky Altar before they fought us. You want to position your ball somewhere around here, because you don't want to allow them to walk freely all the way to your Sky Altar and potentially capture it before you do. Now you can see this creates a huge issue for them, because we have their Sky Altar, and what's ticking here is obviously the first occupation points, which is going to be a big deal, and you're going to see the points shoot up here in a little bit. And you can see we have a few players resetting their marches here to try to get back to other lanes or wherever they're supposed to be. But yeah, this creates a big, big disruption for them, and you can see they're not able to take it back. We're on big, big offense over here, and we have successfully captured the enemy Sky Altar. Now, you can also see that I'm moving my garrison up. It was originally stationed in the obelisk, but I figured, because honestly, most of the time you're not going to capture your enemy's Sky Altar like that, unless they position poorly like 689p did in this case. Now, no disrespect to 689p, I'm just talking about exactly what happened in this game. So yeah, you can see that they were sitting right here on top of their own Sky Altar, which is not where you want to be, because you're allowing your enemy a free path to potentially take the Sky Altar away from you. You want to fight them away from your altar and do as much as possible to keep them away. Now you can see they're trying to attack it, trying to sneak past, but we still have a lot of field presence here, and they're not really balling up very well. They're kind of coming in one by one. And you can see at this point, I pulled my Ho out, I put my Hera in, and at this point, it's going to be extremely difficult for them to take it back. And you can see also, at this point, the first capture points have ticked through, and you can see we already have a huge, huge point lead. And you can also see the same thing going on over here. Now, this is maybe a bad game to look at because it's not a very competitive game. We won this game quite handedly, I would say, so yeah, this might not be the best game to review, but to give you a basic idea of how to play offense and how to play defense at this opening of the game. So yeah, you can see we got all 4 altars first occupation. We are 7,000 points almost lead to 800. So at this point, the game is already extremely difficult for them to win back. And you can see we're still holding on to the Sky Altar. They're not having any success in their offensive moves to try to take it back. So yeah, so far for us, so good. Now you can see eventually they managed to wrestle control back off the Sky Altar away from us, which obviously they should be able to do given that their cities are right here, that we're really far away. So they are going to be able to get their Sky Altar back, but as you can see, the points are already really, really in our favor, and the same thing happened over here on the other side. Desert Altar is still in our control. So really, really not a great start for 689p here, and it's making the game really, really difficult for them to play. Now, you can see the timer on the arc is 2 minutes left, which means it's time to be in middle. And the reason you want to be in mid early, before the arc spawns, is because you want to take better positioning. And as you can see, we're positioning aggressively here. We're taking control of the mid area and not allowing them a way in. Now, you can see also they're kind of late to mid. There's one player sending now. Are there anyone coming from the other side? No. So it does not really look like they're contesting this arc, but again, this game is really a bad example. But you can see basically this is what you want to do. You want to position aggressively, and that's why you want to be early in mid. And in this case, we're actually even like not that early. There are teams that come a lot earlier for the first arc. But yeah, you can see there's 2 minutes left to the arc. We have aggressive positioning here in the middle. And I think also at this point, we probably realized that, I don't remember exactly what happened, but we probably realized that they're not going heavily in on mid. And so, yeah, you can even see we start rotating around here. We realize they're not coming mid. We need to do something else with our marches. So yeah, we start wrapping around here to each lane. And also, since they took their Sky Altar back, we're pressuring here back again to try to take control of their Sky Ultra again, because this is my lane's job. We're basically trying to cause as much point disruption as possible by taking their Sky Ultra as much as we can. Now this is not an easy job, because a Sky Ultra is quite easy to defend compared to other structures, because it's really, really far away from enemy cities, as you can see, and it's really, really close to your own cities. So it's not an easy task for us, but as long as we can cause disruption every now and then, we are doing our job here. And you can see Satana here, actually wrapping around with a few marches. You can see Raish also up here. And you can, if you notice, these are Cao Cao marches now. You might wonder, what are Cao Cao's doing in Osiris League? He's not a good commander. You can also see Garrison March here. And the reason for the Cao Cao's is because we want to, once we capture this, if we do, we want to be able to reinforce this structure as much as we can. So we have Cao Cao's and fast marches running from our cities all the way up here when we capture the enemy Sky Altar, doing their best to try to reinforce the structure so we can hold it for as long as possible. I can see in this case the rally is being heavily, heavily swarmed, and I don't remember if this went well or not, but by the looks of things it's not going too well. So this might be a wipe and another attempt for us, but as long as we're keeping them here and keeping them away from our inner lane here, and that our inner lane can defend their Desert Altar, which you can see they actually lost here in this case. But yeah, as long as we can cause a distraction here and the point disruption, we're doing our job. And obviously we already got first occupation, so even better. Now you can see our arc is being safely carried away. They did not contest it at all. And you can see we have actually one player, well, two players I guess, swarming the Shrine of War. Now this is also something you can do, like undefended structures that you can find, send one or two players, maybe a rally, and just swarm it. Now this can cause point disruption and a very annoying thing for them where they now need to walk all the way back over here, take it back, and it causes a big disruption. So if you can get structures for free or for very cheap, always do so. Now you can see we're not successful in the Sky Ultra attack. And as you can see, you want to make sure that your rally gets here cleanly. And you don't want a bunch of full health marches being here to welcome your rally when it gets here. So you want to make sure you try to time your rally perfectly to make sure you clear most of their field before your rally gets there, so that your rally does not get swarmed down and die like what happened to our last rally. So you can see here we have our rally going. It's getting swarmed down, but it's a SA Pakal, so it's quite tanky, and it's doing quite well right now. And we also have a swarm on the structure, and you can see it's going down quite quickly. Now, we got the structure again, and we want to get our garrisons in. You can see Satana has a garrison here, I have a garrison here. I think even Raish has a garrison somewhere. Yeah, I'm trying to move in at this point, I believe. Okay, so yeah, Satana got in. So at this point, I'm keeping mine fresh. I'm trying to stay away from trouble to keep my garrison march fresh to swap it in later on when Satana's garrison gets low. And you can see, again, what we want to do is we want to keep our field here. Basically the same as, like I said earlier, they would want to keep their field here to keep us away from their structure. Now that we capture the structure, we want to keep them away from being able to hit the structure. So you can see we're positioning our field over here to try to stop them from getting to the structure, because you don't want to let them get to the structure and swarm it for free. You want to contest the field ahead of the structure and keep them off as best as you can. Now you can see they're trying to bring a garrison march up here, which we obviously want to keep away in case they do take it back, so that we can take it back easier. If they don't have a garrison, it's going to make our job a lot easier. But yeah, you can see I'm keeping my garrison march for now safe over here, out of trouble, because I don't want it to get killed, and I want to be able to swap it in later. Now, as you can see, they're mounting a counterattack over here on our structure, and on their structure that we captured, and they're trying to get back here. Now, in a perfect world, you would not do it like this. You can see they're going in very much one by one, so this also might be a bit of what not to do. You want to make sure you ball up and actually hit the enemy ball as a ball yourself. Because if you trickle in one by one, and you can see they're starting to clear us out now, but it's taken way too long. They should have cleared us out a long time ago. Because if you start going in one by one, you will just run into a bunch of marches and you will just instantly die. And you can see we're even getting our refreshes back here, so yeah, they've not done a great job at trying to get their structure back here. Obviously, I assume they're doing the best that they can, just obviously not every team is at the same level. Now you can see they're trying to swarm our structure. They also have a rally on here. Nevsky Arthur, not an optimal rally. Arthur is really not a good rally commander. But they're putting some work into the structure right now, especially with the swarm. It's doing some damage. But you can see we have a bunch of spare marches here. We have reinforcements. We have a backup garrison, which is me. And yeah, it's going to be hard for them to take the structure back with this swarm. Because you can see we're also getting in a lot of fresh new field marches. So we can swarm down the swarmers. We can swarm down the rally. And it's going to be quite difficult for them to take the structure. Now you can see I'm getting in here. And so yeah, you can see Satana has a Cao Cao march here. So basically, you can see he pulled out his garrison here. I put my garrison in, my garrison got swapped, his garrison marches low, he's killing it off. Then he puts his Cao Cao in and keeps the structure healthy. And it's very important that you cycle in new garrison commanders, new reinforcement marches constantly when you're trying to defend a structure, whether it's a structure you took from the enemy or if it's a structure at home. You need fast marches going up and down these lanes to reinforce and new garrisons to keep coming in. Either way, they continue trying on here. I'll skip ahead a little bit to see sort of what they're getting up to. Yeah, so you can see they're still trying to mount an attack on the structure. Again, they're not really balling up. It's very much each player just keep sending, and it's not working out too great for them. They cast Dust Up here. But yeah, this is not working out too well for them at this moment in time. And now with a minute left on the arc, you can see they're actually contesting this arc. And you can see again, we're here earlier than they are, and we're in position, we're ready to go. Not fully yet, there's still a couple people coming in. But we're mostly ready. Now you can see the engage here. We're sitting tight in one ball. And now the skills are getting cast. Pogdown used by 689p. Dust Up used by 60mx. And the mid fight starts. And they also cast Heaven's Grace. Now, I'm not sure if we use another skill for this mid fight or not. But I do believe we won it. Obviously over here, so my focus is over here. And you can see they're also still trying to take the structure back. We have a lot of fresh marches here still. I think they might get it with this. I'm not entirely sure. But yeah. You can see they continue trying. They don't really have a proper rally set for this. It's always Nevsky Arthur, Huo Arthur. It's not really the best. You can see also Raish here with a backup garrison being ready to hop in. So yeah, you can see we're cycling a lot of garrison marches. Satana is coming back with his again. And we're cycling a lot of reinforcement marches. Now I think we actually do lose it here. You can see they have a lot of field presence over here. Anyway, going back to the mid fight that's happening at the same time. You can see that they got the first grab on the arc over here. Wait, do we actually lose this mid fight? Honestly, I don't know. We might. Oh yeah, 100% we do. Yeah, we're wiped. So we actually lost this mid fight. And you can see they used Dust Up plus... No, sorry, they used... Well, did they use Dust Up, Bogdan, Heaven's Grace? Did they use 10 points? I'm not entirely sure. Either way, they used more skills than us. I think we only cast Dust Up, if I'm not wrong. So yeah. Or maybe we used Desert Storm as well. Either way, they used a lot more points than us. They won the arc. Either way, you can see we're still holding onto the Sky Altar over here. And I'm killing off my Garrison March. We're keeping our field on the offensive side. I'm not going to go through this many more times. You get the idea of what we're doing over here and what's going on. So yeah, I'm going to hop out of this. And basically, I think that's it for the video. It's quite specific on especially the offensive Sky Altar lane. But if you'd like to see other lanes or more in-depth guides when it comes to Ark of Osiris, please do let me know. I hope I did a good job covering most of the in-depth stuff. I know there's so much more to cover, especially when it comes to in-depth planning and everything else. So let me know if you'd like to see more guides on Ark of Osiris. Yeah, and I really appreciate you guys watching. If you enjoyed the video, throw a like on here, consider subscribing to the channel. And if you haven't, check out Chad's video on basic information about how to play Ark of Osiris, and that will do you wonders. It's going to be linked down below, and thank you so much again. I'll see you all next time. Take care, everyone, and bye-bye.